Good evening, you're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Faye Kwan. Malaysia will continue its open approach in engaging both the United States and China, says Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. Despite talks of Malaysia pivoting towards China, he says it is a fact that the US continues to reign supreme as the largest source of foreign direct investment for the country.
It is as clear as day. It's clear as day, and there is no zero-sum game here. Maintaining robust ties with both the United States and China is not merely a matter of economic pragmatism, but a strategic imperative to safeguard our national interests in an increasing volatile world. This is what we mean by cultivating engagement with both to ensure the region's diversified economic base, reduce interdependence, and a strengthened position as a resilient, open, and competitive economy.
We're delighted to be able to do this.
The Prime Minister was speaking at the London School of Economics and Political Science as part of his 5-day working visit to the UK. He clarified that Malaysia's interest in joining the BRICS group was not about choosing a side, but rather about expanding the country's options in the face of geopolitical and geoeconomic changes.
Solving that problem, how do you see
Malaysia and the UK held their first ministerial-led Joint Economic and Trade Committee meeting. A statement from the Investment, Trade and Industry Ministry says both countries support the joint working plan to strengthen bilateral cooperation in several areas, including education, legal services and agriculture. Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Abdul Aziz and UK's Trade Police and Economic Security Minister Douglas Alexander held talks in London to explore enhancing bilateral trade and investment. They also touched on potential cooperation in customs, Islamic finance and social enterprises. The meeting was held in conjunction with Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim's working visit to the UK. The UK was Malaysia's 21st largest trading partner from January to November 2024, with bilateral trade goods between the two countries totaling to 15.29 billion ringgit. Train and bus services operated by Prasarana Malaysia Berhad recorded an average of 1.18 million daily journeys on its network in 2024. This represents a 24% increase compared to 2023, an all-time high for the operator.
The surge in ridership follows several initiatives to improve public transport reliability, along with the full opening of the Putrajaya line. Transport Minister Anthony Loke said the increased frequency of trains and buses was complemented by a reduction in service disruptions. Meanwhile, he also announced that Prasarana, through Rapid KL, would deploy 300 vans within the Klang Valley soon to address first and last mile connectivity challenges between train stations and passengers' final destinations.
Sebanyak 20 van telah pun diguna pakai dalam beberapa bulan yang lalu. Kita mendapati memang dia popular dan ramai yang suka kerana kita hanya charge RM1. RM1 untuk satu perjalanan. Jadi dalam bulan 3 nanti 300 van baru akan mula beroperasi. Jadi sekarang ini memang telah pun secara progresif kita akan dapat van-van baru.
The minister added that Klang Valley commuters would enjoy a widened train network this year when the Shah Alam line, formerly known as LRT3, opens for service in September.
Most children rescued from charitable homes linked to GISB Holdings Sendirian Berhad have been reunited with their families. Women, Family and Community Development Minister Datuk Seri Nancy Shukri says the remaining children have been placed with suitable guardians and social welfare department centres.
Of the 560 children rescued from GISB-linked homes, 448 were returned to their families. Nancy attributed the delay in reuniting children with their families to pending police reports and legal processes. She urged parents wishing to reclaim their children to approach her ministry to discuss regaining custody, emphasizing that the main goal was to ensure the welfare and safety of the children.
Southeast Asian foreign ministers are gathering in Langkawi for the ASEAN Ministerial Meeting or AMM retreat, marking Malaysia's first major event as the 2025 ASEAN chair. The retreat will officially begin tomorrow.
Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Hassan and representatives from all 10 ASEAN member states, along with Timor-Leste as an observer, are attending the two-day retreat at the Langkawi International Convention Centre. The meeting will focus on ASEAN's external relations and pressing regional issues, with over 200 delegates participating. Malaysia's chairmanship will set the tone for a year packed with over 300 ASEAN meetings and programs scheduled across the country. Malaysia last chaired ASEAN in 2015 and has held this role 5 times since the bloc's founding in 1967.
We'll be back with more after the break.
Rambut gugur lagi? Macam mana Gunakan Pantene Baharu dengan provitamin mikro yang meresap dan menguatkan rambut dari dalam. Rambut 10 kali lebih kuat terhadap rambut gugur. Pantene Baharu.
Kini tiba di kemuncaknya. Pemilihan idea produk inovasi terbaik semakin mencabar.
Para peserta baharu yang bakal menjadi usahawan inovator.
Anda akan menjadi saksi. Which idea will win over the jury and the consumers?
Inovaton merealisasikan impian anda.
Siapakah yang layak menjadi juara?
Inovaton akhir Sabtu 9 malam di Astro dan Astro Go.
Kerap menggaruk kulit kepala disebabkan keluh mumur, masalahnya lebih mendalam. Gunalah Head and Shoulders menembusi 5 lapisan untuk membasmi keluh mumur dan kegatalan. Bebas keluh mumur sehingga 100%. Head and Shoulders diuji secara dermatologi.
Welcome back. Israel's Security Cabinet meets today in Jerusalem to vote on a Gaza ceasefire and hostage deal with Hamas. The agreement will then need to be approved by the wider government. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu earlier confirmed that a deal had been reached with Hamas after overcoming last-minute disputes. He had delayed meeting his cabinet after accusing the group of seeking changes to the final agreement. His office says the first hostages are expected to be released as early as Sunday once the deal is finalized. The ceasefire will see aid deliveries into Gaza increased to hundreds of trucks per day, up from about 40 at the moment. 8 trucks loaded with supplies are already forming queues at the border in Egypt as they wait to be allowed into Gaza. Thailand is stepping up security for tourists in a bid to restore confidence among Chinese visitors ahead of the Lunar New Year holidays. Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra ordered police and law enforcement officials to increase surveillance along its borders to ensure the safety of tourists.
The Premier said the country remained safe for tourists amid reports of a high-profile case involving Chinese actor Wang Xing, who is suspected to have been trafficked to Myanmar from Thailand. The incident has led to several cancellations of tour groups to the country. Paetongtarn said she planned to record a message in Chinese to reassure tourists of their safety and security. Tourism is a key driver of Thailand, with China as the biggest single market. More than 6.7 million Chinese nationals visited Thailand last year, making up nearly 1/5 of the 35.35 million tourist arrivals in the country.
Investigators have discovered bird feathers and blood in the 2 engines of the Jeju Air flight that crashed in South Korea last month. Reuters reports, citing a source close to the investigation, that feathers were found on one of the engines recovered from the crash site, and that video footage also confirmed a bird strike on one of the engines. The Boeing 737-800 was en route from Bangkok to Muan County when it belly landed, overshot the runway, and caught fire after hitting an embankment. South Korean authorities say just 4 minutes before the crash, the pilots reported a bird strike and declared an emergency. They attempted a go-around, aiming to land on the opposite end of the runway. 2 minutes prior to the Mayday call, air traffic control had issued a warning about bird activity in the area. The plane crash, which killed 179 people, is now the deadliest aviation disaster in South Korean history. Apple has been dethroned as China's top smartphone seller, with shipments plunging 17% in 2024, its sharpest drop since 2016. Latest data from market analyst firm Canalys shows local brands Vivo and Huawei have overtaken the tech giant, securing 17% and 16% market shares, while Apple now sits in third at 15%.
Analysts point to several challenges for Apple. Domestic competitors like Huawei surged ahead with innovations, including new phones featuring locally made chipsets. Huawei saw a 24% rise in shipments in the fourth quarter alone. Additionally, the absence of AI features in the latest iPhones has hurt Apple's appeal in a market where ChatGPT is not available. Apple, which had enjoyed years of steady growth after US sanctions weakened Huawei in 2019, now faces renewed pressure. The company recently offered rare discounts in China to boost sales, slashing prices on its iPhone 16 models by up to $69 in early January. Despite Apple's setbacks, China's smartphone market grew 4% in 2024, with 285 million units shipped.
The United States has rolled out sweeping regulations to control the export and use of advanced AI chips and related technologies overseas. What could this mean for Malaysia? We speak to Sam Majid, head of the National AI Office, to explore the potential impact.
It came out on Monday, and NIO has been front center in understanding and engaging. We just had this morning some engagement with the US Department of Commerce to better understand impact to Malaysia. So for now, we understand that the impact is minimal, but the objective of that particular AI diffusion rule is what they call it, is to make sure that USA understands where the AI compute focus is happening around the world, and how do we protect the misuse of AI when it comes to weapons, when it comes to human rights, and when it comes to diversion, meaning that you're supposed to use it for A, but you end up using it for B. So that's the reason why USA put this down. Okay. But to Malaysia, we don't see a significant impact. It would be minimal for now because a lot of our players are not hitting the threshold that the new act or new rule is saying. Once you hit some sort of a threshold in terms of quantum of GPUs or the total GPU compute capacity, then you need to comply to those new rules.
But eventually, as we ramp up production of advanced GPUs, that's our ambition, part of our ambition as well, right? So how do you think that will play out?
So this is where the other topic of sovereignty comes in, where we should be in a position, moving towards a position of 100%, towards the position of a producer in AI. May not be 100%, but once we get there, then we will learn how to localize things, how to make things on our own, how to not rely on everything 100% imported. So that takes baby steps. GPU might be an expensive exercise to localize, but we've seen options coming from other parts of the world. We've seen models that sits on the GPUs coming from other parts of the world. And this is where if we don't have a make your own mindset, if we don't have that, we'll always be relying on foreign ways of doing things, and as a consumer, we can't run away from being too dependent on this geopolitical power play. So there's a lot of localization that needs to be done.
Catch the full interview with Sam Majid on AWANI Review this Saturday, 10:30 p.m. only on Astro AWANI.
That report wraps up AWANI Tonight. Do check out our web portal, keeping you informed on the critical events shaping our world, all in one place at international.astroawani.com. That's all for now. I'm Faye Kwan. Thank you for watching and good night.